What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Playbook Sports Podcast. Sorry about that. Leaned on the table, shook the camera. That's my bad. We are meeting remote currently because we wanted to get out to you guys just a Thursday night football talk. So I've got Dantan, I've got Cephs, we've got Opal, all of us in varying degrees of happiness and dismay over our team's performances this past weekend.
Yeah.
But we will talk about all of that. I'm crushed. I'm sorry, buddy. We will talk about all of that in our full show that we do and put out for you guys coming up later this week. But let's just dive right into this Thursday night matchup. We've got the Minnesota Vikings coming off of not just not covering the 6 points against Tampa Bay, but losing outright. Addison, your first outrageous take hit.
Let's go, baby. I know I feel bad for Colin. I know that was the only leg that lost in a massive parlay.
True.
It had to be the one.
$2,000.
Predicted, but something felt right about those Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now I'm hoping this week they suck.
Yeah, true. You need them to stink. Although, I was looking at the numbers from that game. If you just look at the stats, right? If you simply look at the statistics from that game, how did Minnesota lose? The Bucs put up 242 total yards of offense. That's all they got against Minnesota's defense, which is 11 high school football players. And they beat them in Minnesota. They beat them by 3. Kirk, this was a classic Kirk Cousins game.
Yeah, Nate, if you look at it, it literally looks like all the games Minnesota won last year. They just lost it this time. The same way.
Yep.
Yep. No, literally.
Yeah, sorry, you guys don't get to go 11-0 in one-score games anymore. It's just not going to happen. Welcome to week 1.
Yeah, Kirk Cousins, 33 completions, 344 yards, 2 tutties. You look at that, like you said, just look at the box score. Oh, Minnesota, easy W.
Yes.
But nope. They just couldn't get it done.
Nope.
They couldn't get it done late. Couldn't punch it in. Had to punt a couple 3-and-outs from the Bucs defense, and then they could not get a stop at the end of the game. Baker didn't even play crazy.
No, 140-something passing yards. He did enough. He didn't have the mistakes. He didn't make any mistakes, and that was huge.
And, Tampa Bay's defense was on the field a lot last year. Their offense just had quick possessions.
Mm-hmm.
They had a lot of possessions, but they were quick. And slowing the game down a little bit helped that defense. Devin White and Levante David leading the team in tackles. Devin White, there were questions last year if he was committed to the team.
Mm-hmm.
At one point, I think he got pulled from just playing, obviously, just as much, but it was because of his effort on the field. And it's like, well, maybe he was completely gassed because he's on the field all the time.
Right.
And look what happens when you give the defense a little bit of time. And, they did enough to create pressure for the Vikings to not get it done. In the second half, Minnesota scored 7 points.
That's crazy.
And it was in the fourth quarter. That's tough.
Man, and after all the talking we've done about Minnesota and how it's like they are, I even said, I was like, they need to lean into who they are. If we're going to score points, we're going to have to because our defense isn't going to hold up. Their defense played just fine. 20 points is not terrible. It's the Bucs, but 20 points, only 240 yards given up. That should be enough for Minnesota to win most football games, you would think, especially with how good their defense is.
Yeah.
Or how good their offense is.
Their offense needs to put up more than 20 points. When you have Justin Jefferson, that's almost a gimme 20 points.
And Jordan Addison looked great.
Jordan Addison looked amazing.
Had a touchdown catch.
But again, Jay Jetta, he had 138 at halftime, and then he ended with 150.
Yep. I don't understand a game plan that doesn't give him the ball 10 times a half. I just don't get it.
Yeah.
Also, a big question about Minnesota's offense we had coming into this year was their running game, and obviously it was really non-existent. I think Madison had I want to say less than 40 yards, or right around 40 yards. I should have written out the stat here, but Minnesota's run game was.
No, yeah, he did. He had 34 yards on 11 carries.
Yeah, the run game was non-existent.
As long was 9.
Yeah, Minnesota did not look good, and they lost at home. That was almost once again, we talked about must-win games in week 1. Are they really must-win? Not really, but damn, it kind of felt like that was a must-win game at home against a bottom-feeder caliber team that we all thought. I don't think any of us didn't have them finishing last place in the division in the NFC South.
You got to win the gimmies, and when you lose a gimme week 1, that's just a whole, that's a big emotion deflator for the
that's
season.
A tone setter.
Yeah.
It's a tone setter. That's brutal.
Yeah, Minnesota, like we said already, 11-0 last year, already a worse record than they already have one more loss they did in one-score games last year, and it just shows, that's not going to happen again.
Right.
It's already not. Week 1, you cannot just bank on close games going your way, everything going your way. Instead, the Bucs get a third down long to end the game, to finish them. A bullet from Baker to Chris Godwin, and it ended the game. And it's like last year, Vikings probably could have stopped there and go crazy, but instead, things happen, and you take the L.
Yeah. Yeah, tough one. I'm assuming, Colin, they're on your do not bet list anymore.
Yeah, they're on the see you next Tuesday list until further notice. However, talking about how it was a must win really this early in the season for Minnesota, as you look around the rest of their division, obviously Detroit walks into Arrowhead, gets a dub, no asterisk. I don't care about who's healthy, who wasn't playing.
Agreed.
Yep.
And then you look at Green Bay, they looked almost as impressive as any team this weekend. So I don't know, for Minnesota in that division, you got to win the gimmies, as Sage said.
Yeah, cannot start behind the 8 ball like they are. But let's talk about their opponent, the Philadelphia Eagles. Also, not super impressive. They beat
really not
25-20 against New England, and Mac Jones vastly outperformed Jalen Hurts with way inferior weapons. And it's like I said before that game, the Eagles at every single position, I think you could argue the Eagles are better than the Patriots at every single position on the football field. Quarterback, running back, maybe is the biggest question mark. Ramondre Stevenson versus whatever they're trotting out there to run for the Eagles. But other than that, I give the edge to the Eagles across the board.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
If not for Keyshawn Boutte forgetting that he's not in college and not dragging his second foot, we might be talking about upset of the season in week 1.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I just didn't understand that one at all.
You can tell Bill O'Brien's been coaching his ass off this offseason, though. He got back to New England, and he said, you know what, guys? I don't care who our receivers are. Let's just go out there and put on a show. They put up 382 yards.
Yeah.
None of us
they were the better team.
Mac Jones threw the ball 54 times.
They outscored them, or outgained them, 282 to 251. I think Bill Belichick, I saw him in the first half. He was getting excited about this team, actually showing emotion. I think he likes this team, which is kind of scary considering what last year looks like. So if he's feeling good about it, should we? I don't know. All of us basically had New England 4th in that division, but it's probably going to be 3rd now with the Jets. We'll get into that.
True.
Yeah,
we'll talk about that.
But they don't look like an easy win anymore.
No, definitely. And you look at the game though, and it's just crazy. New England, 2 turnovers to Philly's 1, and Philly held the ball more. They had longer time of possession, and New England's offense completely dominated them. Passing, Philly had 154 yards, and New England had 306, so just double it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And you would not have told a lot of people that was going to happen, and they would believe you prior to this game. And first downs, New England had 24-17 for Philly. And it's like their offense was just at the end of the day better. Early lead, and early Mac Jones, I think INT hurt the Patriots bad because then they had to fight back, and they made it close though.
They did.
It's if the offense can be explosive like that for New England, the defense is going to be at least pretty good. It's Belichick. They're going to be fighting on that defensive side of the ball. If Mac Jones puts up numbers like that, that's a game Philly. You got to sit there and go, sort of glad we got out of there with.
Philly escaped. I'm saying Philly escaped New England, honestly, which is crazy.
Yeah. If they weren't trotting out an undrafted wide receiver out there, if they had Jacoby Myers from last year, they win this game.
Yep.
I think.
Yeah, they probably do.
Because Kendrick Bourne looked like a wide receiver 1 out there against the
2 touchdowns
that we were hyping up.
Yeah, and Jalen Carter did look really good. Jalen Carter had a crazy number of pressures and just causing all sorts. He's the monster. That was really a good draft pick.
Yeah. Another thing just about Philly's defense, 2 sacks, and New England had more sacks than Philly, and I'm sure last year they did not get out-sacked in many games considering they set their regular season record. But it just shows, though, at the end of the day, if your defense isn't playing at some crazy level where you're getting insane pressure, teams are going to stick around and score points, and that's what New England did. And at the end of the day, I'm sure there was pressure, but 2 sacks, it's not getting Mac Jones down.
Yeah, and New England was missing at least 1, if not 2, of their starting offensive linemen also. All 5 of their, on the injury report today, all 5 of their starting offensive linemen are on the injury report for Sunday night's game currently.
That's tough.
They were all hurt or dealing with some sort of injury, and that pass rush just couldn't get home, man. I'm telling you, you give these good coaches 3 months to prepare for a team, they're going to have something figured out unless you're Brandon Staley, who did not know what he was doing defensively at all. Kellen Moore looked good, but Brandon Staley was lost.
Yeah, we saw that.
But we'll talk about that later. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. But anyways, let's get back into Thursday night. So currently the line.
Quickly before you move on,
please.
Sorry. Going into that game, I think we all could have agreed the worst unit on the field was the Patriots offense. The Patriots defense, Eagles offense, Eagles defense are all 3 better than the Patriots offense going into the game. Addison, you mentioned it, 7 more first downs for the Patriots. Sage, you mentioned it, 130 more yards of offense for the Patriots against the Eagles. And looking at it, like I was trying to figure out why did Mac Jones throw for so many more yards than Jalen Hurts did? Because they're both in that weather, and everything I saw online was it's a monsoon. So what do you want from Jalen Hurts? I was looking at 16-0 in the first quarter, so I was like, okay, maybe the Patriots were fighting back early on, but it was 16-14 at half. It's not like it was a blowout, and then it was super backdoor cover. It was a close game down the stretch. So I don't know. One offense looked like it was moving, and one offense looked like it was struggling a little bit. But
yeah. Philly showed some cracks, man. They showed a little bit of cracks.
I definitely blame Nick Sirianni kind of on this, not a loss, but it was almost like a metaphorical loss just because he was playing conservative in the first half. It looked like he was trying to run clock out very early.
Yeah, it's like 16-0 is not enough.
When you're up 16-0, just hit the gas. I mean, that's what
step
we
on the throat.
Like, that's how you guys
finish them.
They were doing that last year. I don't know what changed in week 1 this year, but here we are, just playing conservative, letting the other team get in the game, and then all of a sudden you're fighting at the end.
Yeah, and that'll cost
I think this shows the Patriots and Bill O'Brien. He truly believes in Mac Jones, though. I mean, 54 attempts. You're slinging the ball 54 times at the end of the day. That's a lot of throws. A lot of times you're dropping back. They trust him. I mean, 316, 3 tutties, a pick early that he bounced back from. If Mac Jones plays like this, the Patriots are going to be legit.
Yeah, they'll
at least
be decent
in every game.
Yeah, they'll be in every game because their defense is going to be fine.
Yeah,
they won't have any defensive issues. Yeah, I mean, just maybe. I mean, it's week 1, but it was against one of the best defenses. It was a weird one, but at the end, Philly ended up winning. But honestly, like if there was any moral victories in week 1, it was this for New England. This was a moral victory for them. They've got to feel good about this.
Yeah.
But so Philly right now, the line is Eagles -6 for Thursday night. While I'm going to go first just because. While I don't think Philly is a juggernaut again this year, I think Minnesota could be really bad. I think we might be shocked by how bad that they are. I mean, like you look at the corners for New England, Jonathan Jones was hurt. They were playing a rookie corner outside, and A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and that offense couldn't do anything against them. So maybe Philly won't be that good, but Minnesota is just really bad. And I'm riding Philly -6. I think Philadelphia might blow them out. This game's in Philadelphia. I think they recognize that they can't skate through this season like they did last year at times. They're actually going to have to play better than their opponent and not just get lucky and blow teams out. I think this will be kind of not a revenge game, but I think this is a game where they come out and they smack Minnesota in the mouth. If the line was 10, I think I would take Eagles -10 in this one. I'm going to take the 6, but I think I would take 7 or take 10 personally.
Yeah, Nate, I absolutely agree with you there. I'm going to take Philly again, -6. You said -10. I'd probably do the exact same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, that defense looked absolutely atrocious against Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
I mean, now they got Jalen Hurts and another great wide receiver duo. Oh, and by the way, they also have a running game. So, yeah, I'm going with the Eagles as well.
Yeah.
I'll say I'm a little concerned about that running game, however, just with Kenneth Gainwell being ruled out.
Being hurt.
You look at last week against the Patriots, the Eagles had 25 carries, and 9 of those carries were Jalen Hurts. So Kenneth Gainwell had 14 of the 16 carries from running backs. Team high 54 rushing yards, 3rd most receptions, 3rd most receiving yards. He had 18 touches on their 61 offensive plays. That's 29.5% touches on their plays. I think that's going to be a big loss for them, although they are stacked, Rashad Penny and, DeAndre Swift and Jalen Hurts himself being a great running back.
Boston Scott.
Boston Scott. Well, they're not playing the Giants, so we don't got to worry about Boston Scott.
True. You're right. He won't score. You're right. Good point.
But I really want to take Minnesota here. I really do, because when you look at last week, the Patriots only had 76 rushing yards, and we know how bad Minnesota's offensive rushing attack looked last week. So if Minnesota does this, it's got to be through the air, but without potentially 2 starting offensive linemen from Minnesota, it's going to be really hard to take their side. I want to so badly. Because obviously the Eagles are missing their cornerback number 2. They're missing their starting safety. Obviously, Nakobe Dean's on the IR now. Fletcher Cox is questionable, but he's an Eagle staple for an home opener. He'll be playing. I really want to take the Vikings plus the 6, but
do it.
Two potential offensive linemen missing. I don't know if I can talk myself into it, so I will go with the Eagles as well. But for fun, Kirk Cousins 8-8 in his primetime Vikings career against the spread. So we'll see if he which way he goes, or if he gets the push there to go 8-1. Also, a nice little sneaky bet in this one. Kirk Cousins pass attempts is set for over under 37.5. I kind of like that over because, as you mentioned, zero running game for the Vikings, maybe two linemen down. I mean, Kirk is going to have to do it himself, and if it's the game we all think it's going to be, the Vikings probably are going to be trailing probably early and for most of the game, so they'll have to throw it. Over 37.5 pass attempts minus 115. Have some fun with that.
I love that over.
I like that one a lot. Addison, are we sweeping it?
That's a good damn question. Oh, that's tough. Garrett Bradbury being out was huge. I think him falling down and then having to replace him. And Vita Vea just was able to tear things up against the Minnesota Vikings. And then you just look at the Eagles' interior defensive line. Jalen Carter's going to feast. Yeah. But then I just look at the back, though. James Bradbury, Reed Blankenship both being gone.
Huge.
This week. And Colin, you brought up good points with Kenneth Gainwell. And I just look at the defensive yards allowed. Philly allowed 392 last week with 316, and Kirk Cousins can throw for 300 yards in his sleep.
Yep.
And I am going to take the Vikings plus the 6. I need a win. I had a dog shit week last week in picks. Since it was a rough week, I got to go out on another limb here. I think Minnesota keeps it close strictly because they're going to be able to move the ball. Like we said, we brought it up when we were talking about New England. None of us think they're a juggernaut offense, but I would almost put the Vikings in that category. Obviously, the running game lacking is bad, but Kirk Cousins, Justin Jefferson alone are going to put up yards, and they'll put up some points. I think they'll get in the end zone instead of turning the ball over near the end zone, and that's going to be big, obviously, against this Philly team because I think they'll bounce back offensively, but I think Minnesota will keep it close.
Okay.
So I'm going to take the plus 6 on Minnesota.
All righty. I like that. So, and then we'll ask, we don't know who Bobby's taking yet, but I'll ask him and get his on there too, and we'll count it for him. But it's going to be another great week of football, man. So happy it's back. Week 1 was nuts. We're going to need some bounce back stuff. There's so many things to talk about from week 1, too, that we'll get into in the big show. But that's all I've got for this Thursday night football game. Anything you fellas want to add in for this one?
I'm all good right here.
All right,
I think the over-under is 48.5. Love that over, baby. Love that over.
That's a good over.
48.5. That is a good over. I like that one, too.
Definitely.
Although primetime unders is a nice little system, but
it has worked really well in the past.
Well, we'll see. That's all I got.
Of course, will, because it's going to be prime time. It'll be ugly, but
yeah,
that's all I got.
All right, sounds good. Then we will see you all this upcoming weekend. We'll have our week 2 game picks. We'll talk about week 1, break it down a little bit, what we saw, what we liked, what we hated, and we'll come out with all these videos this upcoming weekend. So until next time, we'll catch you guys later.